Guys, welcome back to Cooking with Kiki, and today we're making Soup Joumou. So Soup Joumou is something we traditionally eat every Sunday in Haiti and every Independence Day, which is January 1st, not May 18th. That's Flag Day. People get that confused. So we're gonna start out by putting some sour oranges. This is basically to clean the meat. You know, us Caribbean people, we like to wash our meat and whatnot. And we're also going to add some mojo. Mojo is usually not traditionally used, but I like to use it because it's a blend of sour oranges and spices. So why not season the meat while we're trying to clean it as well? So we're just gonna mix that all together and let it sit there for a while. So guys, I also added, after we let it marinate for like 10 to 20 minutes, I added a handful of jus, which is cloves for the Americans or non-Haitians. I added a little bit of onion powder, garlic powder, parsley powder, some fresh onions, and some thyme. I'm gonna mix it all up and let that sit for, I would say you can leave it up to 24 hours, make this in advance to do it next days, but minimum you should have it rest for an hour. I forgot to mention, I'm only using dry spices because I ran out of épices. Épices is a Haitian spice blend that we use to marinate our food. But if you do have épices, this is where you'll be putting it. But if you don't, these dry spices are a good alternative. Okay, guys. So now we have the beef, and it's right now simmering in its own juices. So whatever we had in the bowl before, you just dump it in a pot. It's gonna render some water, and you just let it simmer in that for a couple minutes. And afterwards, you're just gonna add some water, and you just want to add enough water for you to cover it, and we're gonna let that come to a boil. So we just want to cover the meat and whatnot. Now you let that boil for a couple minutes as well. Put a lid so it helps the process, and we'll be back. We now have our joumou, or our pumpkin. This one's been in the freezer because we wanted to preserve its freshness. So I'm just gonna put it in the oven for 350. At 350 for 30 minutes. We're gonna roast it of sorts, and it's also gonna make it easier for us to peel the skin off because it's a bit tough right now. So we don't, just for safety, we're not gonna peel the skin off right now. But if you were dealing with a fresh joumou or pumpkin, you would just cut it and roast it just the same, and then remove the skin because it will be easier to take off because it will be softer, and it will also add more flavors to the pumpkin. So we're just gonna put that in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes, and we'll be right back. So we just took our joumou, aka situi, aka, I forgot how to say it in English, pumpkin, out of the oven, and you're gonna see how easy it is to just scoop it out now, as opposed of doing this when it was frozen. So now it's just, woo! It's okay to be messy in the kitchen. You just have to be clean as you go. As my mom says, I'm not the cleanliest cook, but I try to clean as I go. So you're just gonna want to scoop everything out and scoop it up. So right now I have all the vegetables that are going to be in the soup. I'm making a very small amount of soup because I don't have many people to feed. So you can either add or subtract depending on how many people you're cooking for. So right now I have a carrot, 2 potatoes, the joumou we had earlier, celery, including the leaves. Plus I did leave some of the celery leaves still aside for later. I'm going to show you what you're going to do with that. And this is the point you would add your stock. If you want to make this vegan, this is where you would add vegetable stock, and that would be that. If you made some beef stock earlier, you would add it here. This is basically going to be the base of the soup. What I usually like to do is the water from the beef that we prepared before. That's what I use to boil the vegetables. That way you get a deeper beef flavor throughout the soup, and it's not as one-dimensional as just adding water. I just added the broth from the beef, and look how already unctuous and luscious it looks. That's from because we added, the beef that we used was beef that had bones in it. So this is all the fat from the bone marrow that's really adding another element of flavor onto the broth. And I don't remember if I told you guys, but I simmered the beef for about 35 minutes. But that really depends on what cut of beef that you use. If you use the fillet, it would be a little bit less time, but it would not give you the same depth of flavor because it does not have the bone from the flavor of the bone marrow to give this that like almost silk texture to the broth. And what I have here is some choux, cabbage, and the rest of the celery leaves. We're gonna add them a little bit at the last minute just to give that the aromatics to the soup. But we're gonna let that boil and simmer until the citrouille, aka joumou, aka pumpkin, is done. And we're gonna set that. When it's done, I'm gonna show you what to do with that. That way you can get the soup joumou that you see traditionally, because it's not the color that you expect of soup joumou right now. Also, the beef has been set aside, so we can add that later on as well. The beef has been set aside. What I have here is the pieces of pumpkin with a little bit of water. We're gonna blend them. So a trick you can use so you know that your pumpkins are ready to be blended is you can take them out with your spoon, and if they're easily cuttable in half, then you know that they're ready to blend. So we're just gonna blend that a little bit until it becomes a little puree. So while that goes, what we added here are the celery leaves and the cabbage from earlier, and we also added our pasta. You can use any pasta you want. Traditionally, you can use penne or vermicelli. I did not have vermicelli on hand or penne, so I'm using angel hair pasta, but they're basically the same thing. And you know how cooking with Kiki works. We don't really follow a strict recipe. You use whatever you have in your kitchen. Don't worry yourself about it too much. And yeah, so we're gonna make that blend all of that together. And once that puree is ready, we're gonna add it all back with our meat. And I'll show you the final. I added the puree back to the stock, and we're letting everybody get to know each other. I also added a hot pepper, and notice how we didn't really necessarily add any salt to the boiling of the vegetables and all that, because we used the stock from the beef and that was already like seasoned and whatnot, so that carried over to flavor our vegetables. And I don't like adding salt and stuff to soup. I add other spices, but I don't like adding salt and stuff to soup because as water reduces, it will get saltier. But this would be the point, like if you can have a taste. If you feel like needs a little bit more salt, this is where you would add it. This is where you would add anything you feel like it's missing a little bit. I just added habanero because is piqué. So that means I'm Haitian. I like spicy food. So we're just gonna let that simmer for a couple more minutes, and then we're going to plate. I can't wait to eat.